Welcome to the cold, hard truth on sports.
Welcome, everybody, to a new week of the cold, hard truth on sports. I am your host, Matthew Long. Great show for you tonight. Lots to talk about. It's funny how the football season has officially finished, but sports have not. You know, the most watched sport in the world was actually the Super Bowl. This past over 300 and some million people watched the Super Bowl. Again, I'll get a little bit into some of the numbers and stuff tonight. There is an issue with, again, when I say there's a non-issue, I've been talking about for a while that the ratings being down isn't a big issue, right? It's not a major issue. I don't think it's something that is, it's going to be long-lasting. Clear up the screen here. But one thing that I did see this week that is going to be a bit troubling for some of the sports world is attendance. Now, a key portion of what teams look for is the attendance numbers. And this is something that's been on a steady decline. The big reason behind this has to do with technology, and I'm going to hit on that for sure later on in the show. It's going to be a big portion of the show tonight that it's going to revolve around that topic, ratings and attendance. So the numbers for college football are out, and the rate and actually the attendance for college football is at a new low. So I'll get more detailed into that here in the show. Also, we see the NBA, and I've said that, you know, the 82 games that they play is just far too many games to begin with. And some people are pointing towards, you know, LeBron being a healthy scratch, or other players in the NBA being a healthy scratch, which is, you know, it's tough. When you have extended seasons year after year after year after year, you know, you're playing a lot more basketball than most people, than most professionals in the league. So healthy scratches, you know, it's not a major issue for me. For some people it is. Now, I do think if you were a healthy scratch, I do think that should affect your statistics. So if you were, you're on again, because basketball teams are limited. So if you're healthy, it's a zero game for you. I think that should affect the statistics. If you're a healthy scratch, that should affect the statistics. If not, you should be available to play in some capacity. For basketball, for the NBA, that is. NFL, you have too little of games. You usually don't see healthy scratches. Somebody's not going to miss a game on Sunday because, you know, for much anything. I mean, how many people we see? Brett Favre's father died. I mean, there's people that just had babies that lost children, like children passed away. I'm just saying, it's pretty major. Some major life events have happened, and football players are still out there playing. So it's not too often that you see NFL players come up at healthy scratches. So it's usually not too big of an issue with them. So, but the NBA, we had the the Golden State. Again, they've showed that they're what they are as a team is for the most part head and shoulders above pretty much the rest of the NBA. And they continue to work on ways to develop and get better. The problem is when you hear anything, again, you just think about it. It doesn't matter if it's a person or those of you that take supplements for, maybe you take supplements for working out, or maybe there's a medication you take. Usually what they tell you is you should have like a rest period or a cleansing period. Even they say with sleep, if you're struggling with sleep or your diet, you want to change your diet up. They usually say you're going to fast or go a period without, right? Essentially what that does is a kind of a reset. The same thing with people. They say distance makes the heart grow fonder. But sometimes you got to take time away from the people in your life to allow for that process to set again. Same thing with, because you become numb or non-responsive or tolerant, you could say, to any sort of stimulant, any sort of stimuli or person or activity. This is why they say this is the whole the slippery slope they use with people in drug addiction. You got your gateway drug, and that isn't powerful enough. They get high anymore, so they're getting more drugs, which is true at a certain extent. When drug addicts and people, anytime you grow a tolerance to something that you want, is increasing the dose to get the desired effect. But addiction, in and of itself, right, with ADHD, any sort of situation that revolves around being able to control your emotions, or control more so than your emotions, actually your inhibitions, your ability to say no to a certain activity or something of that nature. You know what I mean? So it's an inability to control inhibitions, right? It's I want it, and it becomes an addiction when that desire and the chase for that desire affects your daily life. If it doesn't, there's a set of criteria. I'm not going to get all the way into it, but definitely something overall we look at. Now, the Warriors did something different. Now, the Suns were upset with this change, with this decision. Was actually Steve Kerr decided to be at the game and not coach. Now, some say, "Oh well, he's trolling. He's trolling the NBA." Because everybody says this team doesn't even need to be coached, and he decided to let the players coach themselves because he's trolling the NBA. No, I don't think that's the case at all. His explanation makes complete sense and very sound. He said, he's having trouble getting through to him. His message isn't getting across. His message is falling, in a sense, not on deaf ears, but ears that aren't hearing it. It's that alarm clock that's going off and you're still sleeping. That's essentially what Steve Kerr said. The alarm clock's going off and nobody's getting up. My kids are like that. I swear, they're 5. I got an alarm clock put in the room to make sure that they're getting up too. Because I figure if that wakes them up and I oversleep for some reason, they're going to come into my room because they can't reach it. No, they just keep sleeping. So that was a foiled idea. Lost $8 there. But anyways, that's essentially what's going on with the Warriors. Now, it's not reflective in the sense that, they're doing terrible, but as a team is assessing themselves, they're not at where they want to be. They're not improving how they want to, and the cohesiveness as a team isn't gelling the way they want it to. Now, obviously, this is one of the toughest. This January and February point in the NBA, just before the All-Star break, this is the toughest, longest period of time because you've already been through pretty much over half the season by actual games played, coming to the All-Star break, and you're worn down, you're beat up. Again, it's a long season, so some teams start to try to work out to look at the different chemistry, different setups. If you're looking at overall, you're pretty well set for a number one seed or a top seed, or you're moving on into the playoffs. At this point, you're probably going to start experimenting with some different lineups. But it's finding ways to get through these times to build confidence and get a good push going into the All-Star break. So this way, when you come out of the break, you carry that momentum and you're refreshed going into the last part of the season and into the playoffs. So essentially what he's done is he's allowed, went for a method of a reset. The players know what they need to do. So what he decided was, hey, instead of me saying this over and over and over again, sometimes it helps to hear it from somebody different, Just think about any time you've ever been in a relationship. And ladies, you can back me up on this, okay? There's times you're in a relationship, you can tell your woman, you look great. You look beautiful. I love the way you look, No, you look awesome. No, flaca, mira, flaca. You look great. Está bonita. Está preciosa. You could tell them all these things. And, they appreciate it. But if somebody else compliments them, it means, not that it means more, but it means something different to them because it hasn't, it's something that they haven't got. They said it from a different perspective. So, essentially, that's what he's doing. It's the same stuff they've been doing, but he just has somebody else delivering the message instead of it just being him. Andre Iguodala is very, very skilled from everybody I've talked to as a coach, and will all likeliness go back into coaching once he's done with his playing career, which might be closer than normal. Now, people have been saying, well, it's concerning. His numbers down, his production's down. It's not. Again, he's an older player. He's an off-the-bench player. He's been a star for them in the playoffs. They're just saving him. If you don't have to play 82 games and then play playoffs, don't. That's kind of the process. What they're doing with him, giving him more adequate amount of rest, is allowing them to essentially conserve his energy and his efforts for the postseason. So there's really, there's an uproar over this, but this is not a big deal. Frankly, it is not a big deal. I know some people want to make it one, but really it's not a big deal. I don't have any sort of considerable concerns with the coaching themselves, because I get where the Suns are coming from. They're saying, hey, it's disrespectful. Losing to a player, losing to the team that, the same way I say coaches, you get mad at coaches for running up the score. Well, the team ran the score up on us. Well, if you were better at playing the game and you executed, it would be a non-issue because whatever they were doing, you'd be able to stop it and you'd be able to make it work. But for some reason, you haven't been able to figure that out yet. And my friend, that is a you issue, not a them issue. So, again, taking time to bash on another team because all right. Put this off to the side. I see you guys are messaging in already, which is good. I appreciate it. All right. It really is a non-issue simply for the fact that, you can't take so much time to try to. You want to manifest problems within a situation that really is a non-issue for everybody but you. It's not showboating. I know a lot of teams want to look at it as showboating or being disrespectful, but frankly, if he can really send his team out there for any period of time and not have to coach them, I mean that just says how much closer they are to being ready where they need him to be. So I have no issue with that there. So, but if anybody wants to call the show number, the call-in number is 347-237-5539. If you're listening to the show, I know a lot of you listen live on Blog Talk Radio. Very much appreciate it because you can listen to the show live on Blog Talk Radio each and every week, as well as a lot of people are listening to the show in its entirety on Spreaker, which you can download the Spreaker app for free. Just go to your Play Store, your Apple Store, or whatever, wherever. I do believe you can do it through Chrome too. Down Spreaker app, and you can listen to the show live wherever you go. And it's a full show. Now, for those of you listen on Blog Talk, at 10:30 Eastern Time, the show cuts off. But you can go over to the Spreaker app and listen to it in the full version or the podcasted version of the show. So definitely take advantage of that. For those of you that just want to look at that just want to listen to the podcast version, again, Blog Talk, Spreaker, good places for that. Also, you can go over to SoundCloud. We're getting more and more traffic over on SoundCloud, so follow us over there, like the show over there, heart it, whatever, share it. Over on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and we always share it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. So you can find links in those places as well as always. Head on over to the website, the CHT on Sports. Upper left-hand corner, click on the listen link, and you can see all the sports articles and content that we have over there on the website as well. Just kind of a note of business here. As somebody was asking me about the follows the other day, because they follow on Facebook, okay, and Twitter, and they said they were just telling me, hey, something got posted on Twitter and didn't get posted on Facebook. Yes, that's correct. Every medium we have will get some different content. I put different content on at Matt Long Sports than I do up on, the show or on the Cold Hard Truth on Sports page. Okay. Their account, those accounts. And even with You're going to get some content that's on Instagram only and not on Twitter or Facebook or Snapchat. It's going to get mixed up. But see, that's the importance. You follow me and follow us everywhere. So this way you can get unique content wherever it is. So we want to be able to share certain things for certain audiences, because not everybody's the same. I'm gonna tell you, my Snapchat followers. See, Snapchat is a younger crowd, and it's more female. Same thing with Pinterest, largely female. Demographics a little older on Pinterest. Instagram, again, more women than guys, but still, kind of it's at a younger age, gradually going up. Facebook, the demographic is across the board, mostly 30 to 40s, 30s and 40s on Facebook, and more people are just kind of moving around. Anytime you get into, we have the Musical.ly app. So it's like clips, video clips. It's basically like Snapchat, but it just stays there. It doesn't go away. It's kind of like that. Most people do singing on there, or they do. It's basically what, if you remember Vine, it's basically Vine. It's basically what it is, but creators on there can monetize their content. That's why Vine died. So, and just kind of speaking of that, some people are kind of upset at Snapchat. They did do an update. They do have a different format now, and it does have more ads in it. So again, what I addressed about a month ago, and I said, hey, listen, in the next few months, if Snapchat does not address how they're going to drive more ads and work on adjusting the platform in a sense where they can sell more advertising, they're in a world of hurt. Well, they from the report, they said figured it out. I don't think it's been long enough for it to be confirmed, even though they're saying it is. But they've seen some improvements there. And I would almost venture that if you wanted to have like a private, they're probably going to do some sort of subscription base to get out the ads. And if you wanted to have a more robust Snapchat profile where it allows people to link to other accounts and something, I would imagine that's the next natural step for them to integrate other widgets, other uses, other links into Snapchat. So it's something, again, they're going to have to continue to grow it. But there's a lot of people that are really resistant, some people just, every time a new platform comes out, they're just like, I'm not going to go follow everybody over there too, And I was looking through, even with like my Instagram, there's some people that have Instagram because if you have a Facebook, it basically creates you an Instagram now. Like, you basically you almost don't have a choice. So, but not everybody uses the account. So they'll have an account, they'll never use it. So there's people that I've been close friends with for a while that I'm following. They've never posted anything, and I'm following. So, again, now with professional accounts, those people got unfollowed. I'm not gonna lie, I unfollowed those people. Nothing against them, but I have to look at numbers also. I have to look at how many followers I have relative to the amount of people that are interacting. How many of them are fans? I have software and stuff that kind of give me a peek into the analytics and stuff behind it. But there's a lot more to it than just that. So, but the average person, they don't really have. The average person really doesn't have a stomach to go on each and every single one of the platforms and create an account and update them and check on them and all that stuff. I even myself, I don't care for selfies. I'm not really a selfie guy. I have them. But that's because it's part of the content that is desired on certain platforms. They want to see these sort of things. It's an acceptable norm. So you want to provide some content that is what people are looking for. So, but we'll get back into sports. Yeah, I was just getting up to producer here to say, yes, today this is the 250th episode of the Cold Hard Truth on Sports. It is episode 250. So, a lot to go over tonight. I think we were planning on doing something bigger for tonight, but there's a lot to go over, a lot to talk about. So I believe Michael Brewer will be joining the show to talk a little bit about football, the NFL, and again, he and the guys have a show on Wednesday night called Take This L. Awesome show. 8:30 to 10:30 right here on the Blog Talk, on the GoLong Media channel on Blog Talk Radio. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get into golf. We have to get into some Olympics too. There was an event in the Olympics. I want to get the guy's name first, though. I couldn't remember it off the top of my head, but we'll get it. But just moving forward in the show. So again, the number to call in 347-237-5539. Again, 347-237-5539. Got a few questions here I will address on. You can direct message either the show at the CHT on Sports, and I'm going through some of these direct messages here, or you can direct message me at Matt Long Sports, and I should get that. As well. So now I've finally sat down and started watching some college basketball. It's been pretty limited on what I do, what I have watched thus far, just simply because it's that time of year. We're getting closer to the end of the year. And one team that piques my interest for a number of reasons is Nebraska. They're playing right now against Maryland, and Nebraska's basically in kind of this quagmire of a situation. Their record's good, but the issue that they're running into as far as being a team moving off the bubble and into a team that is going to be a tournament team has in large part to do with their record and who they have played thus far. Again, when it comes down to the NCAA basketball and how they're looking at seeds and how they are determining who will play in the tournament, there are several different things they look at. They don't just look at record because there can be a lot of teams that actually that game's over now. Nebraska did win 70-66. So, but just to continue on what I was saying, there are several factors. It's not just record. Record's a big part of it. So if you win, the more you win, the better it is for you. But they also need to pull some sort of analytics. They want to see, marquee victories. Whereas Nebraska's in an interesting situation. Their record is 20-6. Good record, right? And they've won. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games, and one of them, and in the last, let's see here. And basically, in the last, since the beginning of the year, since January 2nd, right? When they beat Northwestern. Then they lost to Purdue by 8. Beat Wisconsin, lost to Penn State by 2. Beat Illinois, beat Michigan by 20. Number 22, Michigan. They beat them by 20. They lost to Ohio State by 5 at Ohio State. Beat Rutgers, beat Iowa, beat Wisconsin again, beat Minnesota again, beat Rutgers, beat Maryland tonight. So they're on quite a streak. Their final games are against Illinois, Indiana, and Penn State. Okay? That is what we're looking at for the end of their schedule. As a conference, I mean, they're sitting right now. They're 11-4 in the Big Ten, but the problem is that the ranking for overall conference, how difficult is the conference? What's the conference strength? It's lower. One of the lowest Power 5 conferences this season. It's struggled, even with Purdue, Michigan State, and Ohio State playing well. Again, what we've seen is because Minnesota's a little down, Penn State's a little down, Indiana's a little down. Northwestern hasn't been able to do what they need to do in conference play. So Penn State's the same sort of situation. They're 8-6 in conference. Northwestern is 6-7. They have a losing record in conference. Maryland, 6-9 in conference, but outside of that, they have 17 wins. So basically, Maryland has 2 losses out of conference, and Northwestern has 4 losses out of conference. It's kind of there's 3 losses out of conference for Penn State. So Nebraska, though, again, kind of coming back to this, they do have losses, but their losses, it's almost like they have marquee losses, so which makes it tough. They lost to St. John's at the beginning of the year, who was actually a really highly regarded team towards the beginning of the year. Some stuff has changed, and they've kind of fell off. As soon as they got in conference, they bottomed out in conference play. They lost to Central Florida, who has continued playing okay. They beat Boston College. They lost to Michigan State earlier in the year. They had Creighton on the ropes for a point of time. They lose by 10 to Creighton. They lost on the final possession to Kansas. So, whereas they have several games that would have been considered marquee wins, close loss to, but they have a close loss to good teams like Creighton, like Kansas, like Purdue, to Michigan State. They beat Michigan. They lose close to Ohio State. So whereas they don't have many marquee wins, Michigan looking to be the only ranked team at the time, but they lost to Ohio State and they lost to Kansas basically within the last 2 possessions of the game. And that's something the committee's looking at. You have an overall record where they're 20-6. They're in a Power 5 conference. Just as long as they keep winning, they keep in contention for an at-large position. They're a bubble team right now. So basically, they want to see them win out here. So in the season, 23-6, a 23-6 Nebraska team is pretty compelling, right? Now, the conference champions are automatic bids. So, as we're coming up to here at the end of March and April, we get into March Madness. We will see here over the next couple weeks the Big Ten tournament. And if Nebraska wins that, they're in. Again, if you just keep winning, you're in. And they're going to get an opportunity to have 1 or 2 even marquee wins if they win the Big Ten. But in theory, if they win out and they can get a marquee win in the Big Ten tournament, that essentially is going to put them in a position where it could push them over the hump and give them an at-large bid to get into the tournament. Now, attendance numbers are down for a lot in football. The Big Ten Conference is the only conference in all ball that is actually increased in attendance. Attendance went up. It's the only conference. The only conference that such thing happened. So, going into this, Nebraska fans travel well. They're selling out basketball games. That's something that's not common with Nebraska. So, is it a situation where even if Nebraska does miss out on the tournament, being a top seed in the NIT, isn't that a victory? Isn't that moving forward in the right direction? I mean, look at a lot of these teams, like Butler. Butler, for example. Wichita State. Wichita State's even a better example. Wichita State won the NIT the year before they went to the Final Four. It kind of set them in motion, especially when they have a lot of returning players, like Nebraska will, outside of a handful of guys. Most of the guys are going to return. But the key for Nebraska will be continuing to win and, on the administrative side, getting Tim Miles signed or extended his contract, because they've lost out on recruits because of it. So it's something we got to definitely look into, keep an eye on as far as college basketball. So next week week after next we'll be getting into tournament play for the conferences. But let me hop back into football, and to do so, I want to bring on Michael Brewer. He's one of our top contributors when it comes to football prospecting, scouting, draft, and he has. I think we'll have it up this week. I know for sure. A mock draft, his first mock draft of the year. Welcome in, Cali Mike. How you doing tonight, Cali Mike?
What's going on, big man?
It's going, man. It's going.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for the combine?
Good to hear. Good to hear. I've changed things up, man.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to do a big board this week. instead of a mock. Just because, you know what? Like I said, I had my mock, and I looked at it, and I was like, none of these. I think that within the first 15 picks, there's going to be a lot of trades, man. I'm looking at your boys, the Bucks. I'm like, man, I can see them trying to trade up. You know, I can see the Browns maybe trying to trade down. I got to see what Eli is going to do. I don't think before, you know, it was almost a foregone conclusion that Eli was going to be leaving New York. But now I'm like, man, it looked like Eli stays. Then I don't think they're going to take a QB in number 2 pick. They might trade down, or they might just go ahead and get a running back. You know, like I said, I'm not what this draft order is going to be right. You know, and it's making me, like I said, it's making me change. I was literally just now looking at it as I was on hold here, and I was looking at the Bucks, and I'm like, man, the Bucks are going to have some choices, you know, of what they could do with this draft. Can they go offensive line, or do they go defensive line? And it's like, you know, I don't know. You got your QB Jameis, then you got uncertainty there with Jameis. I mean, it's like, my goodness, it's like, is he going to get the extension? You know, I mean, to me, really, you got Jameis, and you got which I think, like I said, I think what in Indianapolis situation is going to be different. If they can get a healthy Andrew Luck, they'd be cool. But, you know, you got a couple of uncertain situations there. And like I said, you know, I'm looking at the Bucks. I'm like, man, I can see them maybe trying to trade up and take a shot at Saquon Barkley. You know, but to get him, I think right now they're sitting like 8 or 7. And I think to get him, you got to get up to maybe like at least. And then, like I say, that depends on what the Browns do. Because, like I say, I'm not certain. You know, I mean, team that just spent a high second round pick on a quarterback last year. You know, so who's to say? And in the year before that, they spent a 3rd round pick on the quarterback. I mean, like I said, I don't know. There's just so many options. And like I said, you look at the Browns, you know, everybody's assuming that they take Darnold number 1, which I do. You know, in my mock, I did have them taking Sam Darnold number 1. Just to clarify, I think that Josh Rosen has a higher ceiling, but I think that Sam Darnold is the guy that you can get in there, and he can play right away. And I think he's a better improviser than Josh Rosen. I think the Browns, of course, are going to need a lot of improvisation. Rosen, you know, he has the arm. He has one of them arms, and you know, he can make all the throws. You know, and that's, you know, they always say that about the quarterback. Oh, he can make all the throws. But you know, like I said, he can literally, you know, he can make NFL style throws. But like I said, I'm not sure that the Giants are going to take, you know, a QB. I think they might stick with Eli, which then, you know, you go down. Now you got number 5 pick sitting there, and everybody's assuming that Kirk Cousins might try to find his way to Denver. But then if they don't get Kirk Cousins, I could definitely see a quarterback like Josh Rosen being in a place like Denver, you know. And
I like
you know, that'll be, you know, like I said, that'll be.
I like Denver for him. I like Denver for Rosen a lot more than I do with any team in the Northeast, the North or Northeast. I don't think Rosen. I think Rosen a lot like Phillip Rivers. He's one of those guys. He can, you know, being where there's a lot of weather. The weather isn't as mild unless he goes to an indoor team. I think he would really struggle. You know, he's a good passer, but he's not an athlete. You know, but as a thrower, he has a big arm. You know, he has definitely He has the arm talent for the NFL, and that's something that I think we've talked about since we've seen him as a freshman, a true freshman. So that's not a question. Does he have the talent? Is the arm talent there for the NFL? That's not a question at all. What we want to know is how is he going to work in different schemes, because I think he's going to be more of a scheme guy just because he isn't as mobile.
Yeah.
He needs to be in a situation where he has, a West Coast or a converted West Coast offense, something that's timing based. But the thing that Rosen has to work on that I haven't seen enough out of him yet is his throwing guys open. He hasn't got to the point where he's really throwing guys open. And so just so the audience understands, throwing open is literally where the quarterback is picking a spot on the field because he can see the defense. He throws to the spot on the field, and the receiver goes for the ball. So this way, the receiver just tracks it. It's him using his natural athletic ability to track the football and then go get it. But it's in a place where it's going to be the best place for the receiver to get the ball and the defense not to be able to get the ball. So that's throwing the receiver open. I know terms get thrown around a lot. I just want to make sure people are understanding what we talk about when we say stuff like that. So, but it's
and so Sam Darnold has an uncanny ability to do that too.
Yeah.
On the flip side, he I've seen him do that at him and Deontay Burnett. That was their thing at USC. You would not see the guy be open until that point, and then he would make a break, and the ball would already be there, and it would be a completion. And it was they ran that to a T.
Yeah, and Mackenzie Milton, he's going to be a guy out of Central Florida. I'm really interested to see what he does because he has a lot of that ability to throw guys open. We've seen that when they really on display when they played Auburn in the Peach Bowl. When Central Florida claimed their national title. So I never asked you. How did you feel about that? Them claiming a national title.
Yeah, that wasn't a good look. If you
Alabama does it.
Like I said, before on Take This L, I think in order for Central Florida to get to that next level, they have to schedule and beat one of the big three in Florida every year, at least. And that's FSU, Florida, and Miami. And they have to schedule and beat one of them per year, for folks to start taking them, and even then, that's besides a regular season schedule with, not full of cup stage. And that's not to say UCF can't play. They've proven that they can play. But like I say, that's just to make people take it seriously. Them trying to claim a national championship. Like I say, this is almost like, I said it's even worse than when Auburn tried to claim part of a national championship. Well, some Auburn fans, when USC beat Oklahoma, Auburn was trying to claim that they were undefeated and that they should have went. And it's like, but like I say, even Auburn to me had a better, they had a better shot of it than UCF. It's like I said, to me, to try to do that, you at least have to have a major. If you don't have the AP behind your back or something like that, or you're not, nobody's gonna listen to you. I think they had some, I can't even think of the name of it. They had some minor publication that did give them a share of the national championship, and they ran with it. But
it wasn't our minor. It wasn't our minor publication, so.
Yeah. Like the dude, like Damian Harris said from Alabama, where's the trophy?
Yeah,
where's
but
trophy?
here's one thing about it. Again, I agree with you across the board, but where I think they have a little bit more stake in a claim for a national champion, it isn't a Power 5 national champion like Auburn. Auburn's like, we're a Power 5 school. We went undefeated. We should have a claim at a national title. And like you said, there was a publication that did back them on that. Now, on the other hand, because they are a non-Power 5 school, they were clearly the best non-Power 5 school. And I don't think there's really much debate behind that. So if their national championship is saying, hey, listen, we're the best non-Power 5 school, Power 5s aren't going to let us even play and be involved in their tournament to begin with. They're not even considering us. It wouldn't matter what we did. They really wouldn't have considered us at all. So we're going to say, hey, we're coming in a national championship. We beat Auburn, who beat both Georgia and Alabama, who played for the national title. We have some credibility there. The final poll, I think for the Associated Press, the final poll had them having 4 first-place votes. They had 4, and only Alabama had any of the others. So, but still, they didn't manage to get much higher than 8th. I think they ended up 8th in the final polling for. I think that was the highest they went in any of the polls. But again, now to sit and say again, Mike, eyeball test tells you that. And again, I did this. I don't know if you heard the show. I did. I said, hey, listen, let's look at it like this. Had they this year, had the Big 12 put their big boy pants on and, taken care of business and done shit right, and UCF, USF, Memphis, and Houston were in the Big 12, I basically broke down what their schedule kind of would look like. Because, they're in conference. Memphis was already an in-conference team. USF was already an in-conference team that they played. They didn't play Houston, but it would have been. And again, they're the other team. So we already know the outcomes of 2 of those games that they played would have been in-conference play. Now, sitting back and looking at the others, like I'm trying to figure out try to break down the conferences to even them out, like an East and a West. So this way we can kind of get some better determination out of it. Now, had they played Georgia Tech, I don't think without a doubt, I don't think that I think either one of us would argue that they couldn't have beaten Georgia Tech. Especially because a lot of it say, they're a triple option team. I don't think anybody's going to fool Scott Frost on triple option. Just a hunch. It's kind of a hunch. I don't think they're going to fool him on that. I think he knows enough. They could have figured that out. And again, they beat Maryland.
And not to get it, but that's a good point. You brought up about Georgia. I mean, it's like to me, Power 5. And this is kind of in UCF's favor. To me, saying Power 5, just because you're in Power 5 does not mean you're a good school. I mean, Georgia Tech used to be a good school. This is a school that's won a national championship before, but they've fallen off a lot. I mean, they pretty much. I think I think I heard something. They're pretty much kind of like giving up on their football program. Kind of. I mean, this is not a school. The athletes are, the last time they were relevant was like, late 2000s. I mean, early 2000s. Like
Megatron.
Joe Hamilton.
Or
this is their.
Demetrius Thomas.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Demetrius Thomas went to Georgia Tech? That was the last time. I think that's the last time they were ranked when he was there.
Yeah. And this is like, they're not, and it's like, I mean, you always got. Like I say, UCF, I'm pretty sure they might be, they could beat Vanderbilt or Kentucky. I mean, they, or Utah. I mean, they could beat those kind of schools. So, but my thing is like, like I say, if you want to get taken seriously, or maybe the way to do it for that type of school, like if you're a UCF, and you're trying to break into that upper echelon, maybe instead of joining the smaller conference, maybe you just need to be independent. Because at least that way you can kind of pick your schedule and you can go out there and beat those schools and be like, look, okay, we put together this resume. We beat there's 3 schools from this conference, 3 schools from this conference, and then we beat Florida and Miami. You know what I mean? That might be the best way to do it. for a school like that wants to get recognition. League, because you're not in that conference. Like I say, you're not. Nobody's really going to take you serious because you're like I said, unless you play at least one of the major Florida schools and then one big game a year, and you got to win them.
Yeah. I don't know if – see, that's the thing. It's like, does independence help them? And that's the thing is, like, I don't think that's something that didn't help with BYU because they went from a non-Power 5 to an independent, and I don't think it worked at all for them. They thought that they could do what Notre Dame did, but they haven't been able to, and it just has went downhill since then. There's a lot of money and power and backing behind having a conference. I mean, the Big Ten and its rise over the last couple years in football is not a fluke. I mean, we talked about this, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I was saying that, watch, once they get this television contract figured out, again, the Big Ten was the last one to come in and get one. I mean, they're getting $20-some million a year, $24, $25 million a year from ESPN for half the games. Then they're getting another $27, $28 million from Fox for the other half of the games and half of the broadcast on the Big Ten network. So, I mean, we're talking 40-some million, almost $50 million a year, for the conference. And that's I mean, they get more on their ESPN deal than the SEC gets. And all the SEC gets is the ESPN deal, That's the thing. It's that big of a deal. So more money's going in. The schools are better off in a lot of their situations. But I mean, just kind of what I was saying. Just looking at the breakdown. I mean, FIU, first game of the year, we're probably not. There's not a question. They won that game. That would still be an out of conference game that they would have on their schedule. Memphis would have been. I guess it got rescheduled, canceled to reschedule. Georgia Tech, again, that's probably another win. They play out-of-conference Maryland, who actually kind of figured stuff out towards the end of the year. They beat Maryland. Maine was canceled. I don't think there's any question that they would have beat Maine. Memphis, they beat Memphis, so that was in conference. That would have been a Big 12 game, 40-13. Cincinnati, they would play somebody else. So Cincinnati, Navy, Connecticut, Austin Prairie View, SMU, UConn, Temple. Those would have all been replaced with probably Iowa State, West Virginia, because they're going to play their side of the conference first. Then you're looking at Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. They probably have Oklahoma State on their side of the conference because they don't want to split Oklahoma and Texas up. Then they probably have, Texas Tech or TCU on their side. And we saw TCU, and we saw Iowa State. Iowa State played some good football this year. But I don't think at any point in time, if you run down the Big 12, including Oklahoma, I don't think that there's not a team in the Big 12 that this year UCF couldn't have beaten. I think they could have beaten them all, Again, that's the thing is, so what are we looking at? So we're probably looking at a Big 12.
You think they could have beat Oklahoma too?
Yeah, well, that probably would have ended up being their conference championship game. Oklahoma and UCF. So if you have an undefeated UCF team and an Oklahoma team with one loss, and you end up with, even if Oklahoma wins, now you're kind of talking maybe UCF should be in there. They have a close loss to see now the conversation's different because UCF was beating people by such a wide margin the entire season. I don't think that trend changes because it doesn't matter. Like you put in the closest game was really like Navy. That was a 10-point game. That was the closest game. Other than that, they beat everybody else by 25, 30 points. They just mauled people. And again, Memphis was ranked. They beat them by 27. So I mean, it's crazy. So and they end up beating Auburn. They were up 14. They ended up beating them by 7, and the defense held it off at the end of the game to make sure it wasn't tied. But I don't think anybody watched that game and wasn't like, yeah, UCF has had control, or has had a grip on this game the entire time. Even going into halftime, Frost drove down the field and kicked a field goal and made a field goal. And that set the tone for the rest of the game. It's saying, hey, listen, we're not going anywhere. We're going to add on to our lead to go into halftime. We're not taking a knee. We don't take knees. We came here for a reason. And again, everybody sold them short and said, you have a coaching staff. They're not. No. See, when they said your coaching staff is only half in it, no. Hell no. See, they don't understand the staff. Frost doesn't do anything half-assed. Nothing's halfway. He starts something, he finishes it. It's very militaristic of him. He's very meticulous. He does things with intent for a certain outcome and does everything he can to get that outcome. So that's the thing. It's like, it's the crazy thing about it, you know? So again, I don't think if they're in the Big 12, and just saying all things being equal, with the end of their season, they win the conference or whatever. If they're in the Big 12, it's not a question. But just because they're in the Big 12, it doesn't have to do with anything, the quality of the team or not. It's just that they're in a different conference. And I think that's what kept them out, because they're in the AAC. But I would say that if you look at the AAC with Memphis, you know, with USF, with UCF, in the past couple years, not so much this year, but in the past couple years, Houston. I mean, the AAC at the top is better probably than the Pac-12. I would say definitely is better than the Pac-12 at the top. I don't know. AAC. I mean, who did the AAC have? Clemson? Miami? Virginia Tech? They've all showed considerable vulnerabilities during the season. USF really didn't have much of a. They had one loss or 2 losses, you know, but one loss going into the championship game. UCF didn't have any hiccups, and Memphis's only loss was to UCF. So I'm just saying, it's like, and Memphis beat UCLA, did they not? At the beginning of the year. So again, I think they're a victim of more so where the conference was. So that's why when they said, hey, you know, we beat Auburn, who beat Alabama and Georgia. We're the only undefeated school in FBS. We're claiming a share of a national title. We're going to pay our coaches like they won a national title. We're giving them rings that are national title rings. We're raising national championship banners. We're going the whole 9. They're honoring it. They honored it all the way. They didn't just say, hey, we got one. They actually went forward with payouts and rings and ceremonies, parades, just like a national championship game. So with them, I have a little less issue with it because, you know, I don't think they got the same shake, the same fair share. Because I don't think it's any question that if any one of the Power 5 schools was undefeated, regardless of, again, they can't really be undefeated and not win a conference championship, but they're undefeated. Just the fact that they're undefeated, I don't think any of them get left out. I think the committee puts them in. But I don't know. That's always the tough part about it. But to get back kind of what we were saying before, you're going to go to a big board. You're going to start with the big board this year instead of going into the mock? Because I was looking at the mock too.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a big board. Then I don't know what the I got to see like what the deadlines are. You know, like when these players get their usually when they what is it? You know, the roster bonus. I just see when the deadlines are for them to get their roster bonus. Usually that's when they when they decide who they're going to move around and stuff like that. I think that's like in like March where they usually
it's in
decide if they're going to keep where they decide they're going to keep it. You know, if they get in their roster. Their roster bonuses, and that's usually when they move the guys around.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna leave some. What is that?
That's the league on the league schedule. I'm trying to put it up here.
Yeah. But I got my big board I'm gonna do. Like I have an idea. I got full guys who I like. Like I said, we mentioned Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. Other guys I like are Bradley Chubb out of NC State. I've always been a fan. I always like the big defensive ends. I've always
March 6th.
that has to be the high school line. Yeah, I always like the big 260, 270 plus defensive ends. They can, they're versatile. They can set the edge really well. They can, they can stop the run and they can get in there and get the pass rush going. And I think they're really versatile. And you get those guys, to get a guy like that. Even if they're a late bloomer, you remember like Mario Williams, who also came out of NC State.
You think? I think Chad Thomas from Miami is going to be one of those guys. Because he's big, he's fast, he can play defensive end, but his size, you can put him at a 3 technique in the 3-4 or in 4-3, just depending. He can play the 3 tech or 6.
That's because they're very versatile. Yeah, and once they get going, speaking of Miami, look at Coleus Campbell. I mean, look at it kind of took him a while to get his career together, but he's what this is his. He's I can't think of he's like either a 7 or 8 year vet already.
Yeah.
He's starting to make Pro Bowls, all pro teams now.
Time.
Flies quick,
man. Yeah.
I love those. I mean, you got look at Julius Peppers, man. He's still, he came out in 2002. Or 2002. He either came out in 2002, 2001. But he's still out there doing it, man. He had like 10, 11 sacks this year. You get those big guys out there, big and athletic, and they're hard to stop. And now that you have these linemen, the linemen, we were talking about before on the show. The linemen are different now. The offensive linemen aren't the big bookend tackles like you used to have.
Yeah.
You don't see the Jonathan Ogden types anymore. You see like these lighter, tackles. For the more the style they play, there's option style. You got more, pretty much you got a center and 4 guard. Well, pretty much you got 5 guards out there. You got guys pulling and going every which way and blowing out their screens and, and different stuff like that. So you really don't have those bookend lines. I mean, you got a couple of teams that have them like Tennessee. They got a couple out there, but you really don't see that a lot more on a lot of teams.
Have you been watching much film lately? Have you watched film on the offensive line yet?
I've got to see for college.
Yeah.
Not really for college. I guess the only person I've really checked out for college so far is Orlando Brown, and I really like what I see of him. Like I said, he's a guy. Everybody's sold on kind of Connor Williams in that first offensive tackle taken, but I really like Orlando Brown. Like I said, he's got good size and he's got the pedigree. That's Orlando Brown's son. And he really has a lot. He wasn't that big of a recruit coming out of high school. Besides the name, but he's made a name for himself. And I think he's a guy that's going to actually get better. And Connor Williams, he's coming off. I got to see him when they played SC earlier in the season. And he ended up leaving against the ACL injury and was out the whole season.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple guys
but like I say, you look at it.
You definitely got to keep an eye on. One, I think a lot more people have been talking about Brett Toth. He's from Army. But the one guy that really fits what you were talking about, like if you look at him, you'd think he was like a power forward. And it's Greg Sennett. And he's out of Wagner. The dude, like the dude is legitimately, he looks like an NBA power forward. Like, you know, he walked by, you think he was an NBA player. You wouldn't think he was an offensive lineman. Really athletic, good footwork. He has long arms. He has the good foot movement. So I definitely think he is an NFL tackle without a doubt. I don't know if he'll start. I think they'll probably start him off on the right side, depending on the team he goes to. But he'll probably start out on the right side. But the third guy I think definitely is Brian Allen, the center from Michigan State. Now, the unique thing I like about Brian Allen is that he can play center or guard, and you know he's kind of that stockier guy. He has a lot of strength. I mean, he had Chad Thomas was playing a 3 technique and tried to go across his face. I'll have to show you the video on it. He lifted him like a forklift. He jacked him. He came in and he tried to come across his face because that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to come across his face, hit the gap, and he just jacked him up. He just lifted him up, you know? Like it was like wow. And Thomas is quick. And obviously one of his issues that a lot of taller guys have is pad level. How are you coming out at pad level? You know, you guys, you're 6'6", 6'5". You know, you're storming in there, but you're too tall, so you lose your leverage. That's one of the issues. But again, in that sort of situation, you got a guy that's quick like that coming across your face, and it wasn't. He didn't get a double team. It was 1-on-1. He jackknifed him. So it was pretty eye opening. Those are a few guys that I noticed that's just from the Shrine game. Just from the Shrine game alone.
What those kind of guys working for them, and you know, like you guys send it there, is offensive linemen. And I think it's due to, you know, usually a lot of the offensive, always usually the offensive line coaches are always old offensive linemen. They know what to look for, so they're willing to give guys a chance. And, you know, when offensive linemen get in there, if they show talent, it's going to shine. So, you know, you'll see offensive linemen that maybe weren't go to the biggest school or, you know, who weren't the biggest names, and, you know, and they'll get a good, you know, a couple of guys that come to my off head or, you know, Jared Bell here, you know, he got drafted for the Cardinals, and even your boy in Tampa, Ali Marpet, out of Hobart College, you know, so they're willing to, you know, teams, you know, if you're a good offensive lineman, teams will look for you and find you, you know, and give you a shot, you know, and you know, because I mean, it's, you know, like I said, that's you're protecting those $1 million arms, man, and you know, so they're very valuable. But yeah, that's like I say, I've got, like I say, Williams and Brown. I've looked at. I'm not that big on. I don't know if it's Saquon or Saquon. I'm not that big on him as everybody else is. You know, I don't know. You know, I think he has the talent, but I got to see what type of guy he is. You know, is he a guy who's going to do it 100% all the time? Because he had kind of a lackluster season this year, and you know, it seemed like once you started hearing the talk about him being a possible number 1 pick, or, you know, 3 guys, it was kind of like he let the gas off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Kind of just close to the end of the season. You know, which, like I said, I mean, it's kind of 50-50. You know, half don't blame because you're going to risk injury, but then the other half, you kind of want to see a guy who puts in their all. If you're looking for that kind of grinded out kind of guy at a running back spot. So, I mean, he's like I say, he's a guy. He's going to go top. he's going to go top 5. Wide receivers, Calvin Ridley. I'm not that big on him as everybody else. Had one decent season, and I don't, and that's partly due to Alabama's difficulties with in there. But I don't know if you can draft a guy like that that's only had, and it wasn't a breakout season like like Julio Jones had, or somebody like that. It was a decent season, and I don't know if you can draft that type of guy, especially if he doesn't have outstanding physical qualities. I don't think he's going to be the type. He's going to be quick, but I don't think he's going to be 4.2 blow your mind quick or anything like that.
Yeah, I've had issues with his
really
route running. He has that. I think Ridley's one of those guys that has that speed and kind of some deceptive speed, but he's not good in and out of the breaks, so it doesn't really translate it to football. He has good hands. He's kind of, I think he's more like a Dez Bryant, one of those guys that gets a lot of separation. And Dez Bryant, and I know a lot of people think Dez Bryant is done. The thing is, Dez Bryant has never been a separation guy. So everybody that says, "Oh, he's not getting separation," that's not his problem. That's Dak's problem. Dak doesn't know how to work with what he is. Dez Bryant is you throw it up, I go get it. I'm gonna go get it. That's what he is. But Dak doesn't throw it up for him to go get it. He has to see. Dak has to see people open. He can't throw players open. He's not willing to risk throwing it towards 2 defenders so Dez can go up and get the ball, which 9 times out of 10, Dez is probably going to come down with the ball, And that's just it. It's just that an inexperienced 5th-round quarterback is not able to deliver the ball in a way that you utilize probably one of your best offensive weapons is in Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
So it's not a Dez. It becomes a Dez problem because Dak isn't matured and progressed enough.
Like I said, I completely agree. I think that might be an issue. Like you said, I think it might be an issue of him just not trusting himself, and maybe that's something that needs to happen within the organization. They need to let him know. When you're a 5th-round guy, you kind of always, you kind of have that fear of, okay, this, no matter how good you are, this could be your last game in the NFL because you're not under a big contract. There's other guys that are going to come along that are going to be drafted higher than you. You weren't intended to be the quarterback of this team, basically. You just, happened to be. But, you weren't drafted to really be the quarterback of this team.
You're in
I think, you got
a position where you could be that stopgap.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt to say maybe it's just his fear as opposed to his ability not to do it. But whatever it is, he needs to fix it. But like you said, I completely agree about Dez. I think people sometimes think that he's supposed to be that. He's never really been a separate kind of guy. Like, if you can get it up. Going back to college, a receiver I really like, and I think he's going to be a number 1 somewhere, is Christian Kerr out of Texas A&M. I've liked him ever since he got there.
Yeah, I remember you've been talking about him for 3 years now.
Yeah, I really like that kid, man. I think he runs good routes. He has good speed. He's explosive. And I like explosion. I like guys with that explosion. And I think he's that type of guy. I would take him over Calvin Ridley. And
one guy,
like I said,
that's not going to go in the 1st round. He didn't get invited to the combine, though I think he should have. I've tried to petition for that. Is the wide receiver out of Northern Iowa, Derice Fontaine. Go check out him in the senior game. But go check out some of his stuff at Northern Iowa. The guy has. See, the thing is, like, when it's not just speed. It's not just speed that you look for, because the guy has track speed. He has that 4.4 speed, 4.4, 4.5 speed. So he has that, but he's good athletically as well. So he can translate the speed to the field. He can get separation. He took what's his name? He took the defensive back from Miami. What's his name? Devonta Delaney. He took Delaney deep and abused him. Again, that was in practice. And then I saw during the week, like there's these throws where his range, he has tremendous range of catching. He's 6'2", 6'2.5". I know he's listed at 6'1". I think he's closer to 6'2". Probably about 200 pounds, lean 200 pounds, but he's fast. He's fast, and he has good hands. I mean, there were some issues with drops within practices and in the game. That's just the thing is, like, you're going to have – a lot of guys are going to have that because you're switching quarterbacks so much, you know. There's going to be some drops, you know. That's something that will only improve with time and should only improve with time because, you know, that's a developmental thing. It's not that he's bad or he can't catch. It is he can. He's good with his hands, but his body control. I thought that was something else that was really exceptional with him. The way he can move, manipulate his body to get in a position where he can catch the ball. So that, again, that range and that body, being able to have that body control helps out that quarterback. So I'd look for some teams to pick him up. Again, he didn't make it. He didn't make the cut for the Shrine game, but I talked with several scouts there, and then I seen what Daniel Jeremiah. I've seen what Mike Mayock. I mean, a lot of people have basically been concurrent with what I've talked about with him. He's one of those guys definitely should have been at the combine.
Hold on, wait. You mean he didn't make the? You mean he didn't make the combine, but he played in the Shrine game, though, correct?
Yeah, he played in the Shrine game, but he did not make the combine.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the MVP. He was the Shrine game MVP and didn't make it to the combine.
Wow.
I have it written down here. His I think his broad jump was like 11.5. I was looking at like his stats versus last year's combine competitors. If I went off the stats that he gave me, again, they're unofficial stats. I mean, he's up there within the top 5 for broad jump, vertical. I guess there's a lot of guys that run 4.3, 4.4. A lot of 4.4 guys in the combine. I mean, some fast dudes. He would probably be up there in the 4. I mean, he'd be up there in the 4.4s. You know, 4.4, like 4.48, 4.47. And it's still fast. I mean, nobody's. I mean, again, a lot of it translates to the game too. So again, I don't understand why. You know, why they did. I've been trying to get some clarification from the NFL, from their committee that runs the combine, who makes it, why, who makes it, what are their criteria? Because Shaquem Griffin, the defensive end from Central Florida, did get it. He did get in like last day, the 30th or 31st. He got the nod, the invitation. Again, they have to the last day of January to finalize invitations for the combine. So, you know, it's kind of a shame some guys didn't get in, and some guys, like, I really thought I should get in. He was one of them, Fontaine. I really thought I should. Now I know you watched a good amount of Florida State. Jacob Poe. What's your take on him? Because I've seen the guy is big. He's big. He's fast. He played linebacker. He's definitely one of those guys that, like a stand-up 3-4 or situational pass rusher, but he's big. So he could be one of those guys that, potentially you could see them move him around too, along stand-up and kind of move him around, kind of like they do with Clowney. Sometimes they'll put Clowney into the middle, like like he's playing middle linebacker, but they're just disguising him in the pass rush. So I wasn't able to see how he could work in coverage. So I think he might have some deficiencies there, but they played a base 4-3, and he was playing outside linebacker in a base 4-3. So he didn't have a lot of opportunities to rush the quarterback and really do what his skill set hindered him to. But he was one of those guys that, the eyeball test, you see they're big, they're fast, they're strong. They have you see they have an ability. They could make an impact. So he's one of those guys that I was just wondering how you felt about him throughout this season and moving into the NFL.
I got to check him out. I think he's going to be more of an outside linebacker kind of guy. Good talent. A lot of FSU guys, like I said, they really underachieved this year, in my opinion, due to the talent they had. This guy, like I said, he's a local guy, Tallahassee guy from I believe he went to Godby. But like I said, good size. He's tall, lanky guy. But I just don't know. Like I say, like I said, when you get those guys, the 6'3", 240, 245 outside linebacker rushers, I mean, unless you can show something extraordinary, they're kind of almost starting to become dime a dozen right now. At least in the draft coming up. I mean, like every school has one. But like I say, he's definitely got, he'll make an NFL roster. Get a chance to show what he can do in the league.
One other guy that kind of stood out, there's a couple guys, and I've talked to a few scouts, and I know most of the people that are looking like defensive ends, pass rushers, a lot of people have from was it North Carolina State?
Yeah, that's
Chubb.
Well, to stick on FSU, they have Derek Nandi there at at nose guard, and I don't know, Nandi, he's the type of guy that one game he looks dominant, and then the other game you don't hear his name.
Poona Ford was like that too.
And I think that kind of hurt him going through. Who's that?
Poona Ford from Texas. He was like that too.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like I said. I mean, I don't know if it's coaching or if that's just the type of guy he is. But he's a guy. If you can get talent out of him, it'll definitely be well worth it. Well worth your pick. But that's just to see if you can get it. And it's weird because it seems like a lot of FSU linemen have been. A lot of FSU players, period, have been like that, man. I mean, my goodness. Like I said, they're underachievers. They play when they want to play. I don't know what's going on there in Florida State.
We'll have to put in a call. Now, what I was saying, Bradley Chubb from North Carolina State. He seems to be a lot of the odds-on favorite as a defensive end for most mock drafts. I think you even had him up there in the top 10 in your draft as well. But the one guy that really stood out, again, I think he got he got overshadowed by Chubb. But after seeing him in the Shrine game, and I do believe he played in the Senior Bowl as well, and that's the guy on the other side of the line from him, Katavius Street. We're talking about a guy that's 6'2", what is that, 6'2", 280, 275, and runs like a 4.445. Like, the dude has wicked speed. But, you know, the one thing that really has deterred scouts that I talked to was he has an issue. He doesn't really have the length for separation. And because he doesn't have the arm length, he's a bit sticky, you know. He's not getting off the blocks like he should. He's kind of, you know, he's a bit sticky, so, you know, he's losing some of that time of getting to the quarterback. But he's one of those guys, I think, again, another one of those guys is probably going to end up later rounds because of that. But he has elite level speed. He's strong. And once he can figure out, you know, kind of like what was it? Suggs was like that too. Kind of those guys, you know, work on your power and be able to get that dip, that Von Miller dip, man. That Von Miller dip in around the corner, that's one of those things. It's like if he could work on that, that's as those fast guys kind of indefensible, you know? Like the offensive lineman there's not many offensive linemen that can do much with that, you know, because of the speed. So, and what's his name? Harrison from Harrison with the from Steelers to Patriots. I know he's one of those guys. He doesn't have so much speed, but he has strength. And he has decent moves. Dwight Freeney, he was one of those guys, an undersized guy. Freeney would get guys if he caught you cheating. That's when if he caught you cheating on the rip, he put the spin move on you, and that was the Dwight Freeney spin move, man. He caught you, you know, cheating too much. He hit you with the spin move. Now you can't come back. He's breaking ankles of offensive linemen, making people look stupid. So, you know, there's a lot of these. See, this is the thing, and this is why looking with this lot and the draft, I think there's enough guys that are just above average to average that a lot of teams are going to make a lot of trades. So there's a few marquee guys. I feel like this year there's going to be more quarterbacks in the first round than we've seen in the previous few years. Again, Sam Darnold is probably going to be the number one overall pick. That just seems to be the consensus, and I'll agree with that. I think he has the highest ceiling, probably out of these lot of guys. But I think Josh Allen, he's probably one of the better overall complete talents in this draft as far as quarterbacks go. I mean, the guy is an athlete. He has a wicked arm. Like, the guy can spin the ball with accuracy. He can throw guys open. You know, he has what you want to see out of a quarterback, but he played for Wyoming. So there's kind of like, well, what are we going to get out of that? I don't know when guys are going to get over that. If you can look at the tangibles that he has, and it checks off all the boxes, and then you see the intangibles, the ability to escape, the ability to adjust and change arm position to make a play, to scramble and throw with accuracy, to stand in the pocket, move up in the pocket, throw with accuracy, throwing guys up. It's like what more do you need to see just because he's from Wyoming? I mean, I don't get why we have so many professionals still that are professionals that have these issues with small conferences, you know? It's like you see what the guy's doing. Why? Like, you don't believe your eyes all of a sudden? You know, I don't know. But that's how you get guys that fall down to the 4th, 5th, 6th round and just ball out because they get overlooked, you know? Because the thing is, like, okay, so at the end of the year, we have a bunch of games stacked up on each other, you know? You got the Tropical Bowl now, which is like the week in before the Shrine Game, and then the Senior Bowl right after that, and then the NFLPA Bowl, and then there's like some Under Armour Army Bowl the week before that, you know. So you got all these like little ancillary all-star games going on, and the scouts are going from, you know, scouts and me are going from, you're going from Daytona, where the Tropical Bowl is, to Tampa, where the Shrine Game is, to Mobile, where the Senior Bowl is, and then the NFLPA Bowl, that's play out in LA, you know. So there's even less guys that end up going to that, and then a lot of guys forego that because they're going to end up going to going to the combine, you know. Aaron Stinney from James Madison, JMU. Check out Aaron Stinney. He's not going to go to the combine. He could be one of these offensive linemen that really shoot up. He has a lot of ability. He's a very athletic guy. He used to be a defensive lineman. He converted to an offensive lineman, which doesn't happen very often. So check him out. I saw him last week. Like, the guy is, you know, he's like Kendrick Perkins size. You know, he's not super, he's tall, but, you know, but he's kind of athletic, even though he's, you know, he's a thick guy, which is, you know, perfect for the NFL. He looks like a tackle. So he's another guy. Again, with a lot of these FCS schools or HBCU schools, their seasons ended later. So a lot of these guys didn't make it to these all-star games. Like, he was one of them. He got an invite to the Senior Bowl, but the season ended so late, he wasn't prepared to accept. So he declined going to the Senior Bowl.
I mean, how you get an invite to the Senior Bowl, but you don't get an invite to the combine? That's insane.
I don't know. I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you know, I just don't get it. There's a lot of guys, like for example, this guy, shit, I don't even know if he got an invite yet. I gotta go back and look. Yeah, I gotta check this guy. So one guy, he's not a good example because I don't have enough. But a guy I want to look out for as a defensive end, Joe Ostman from Central Michigan. High motor guy. Good strength. You know, he's one of those, like, size-wise, he might be a little undersized, but I think he's athletic enough that he could work. I mean, he's 6'3", 259. As a defensive end, obviously you're a situational pass rusher in the NFL. That's kind of the Dwight Freeney mold. But he could definitely play. He definitely looks like the guy that they're going to want to see at linebacker too. Now, I did not see him worked out at linebacker, and I'll talk to him this week to see if that's something that teams have looked at. I'm assuming they have. But again, he's one of those guys that keep an eye on. What's that?
How does speed look?
He looked like he had good speed. He was good twitch. He was kind of a twitchy, high motor guy. That's one thing with several of the guys I noticed. Like, there's a lot of guys that really struggle getting off the line, and that's kind of something that kills what they're doing. Chad Thomas, that's one of the things. He wasn't getting off the line. He's quick, but he wasn't getting off the line quick enough, in my opinion. And he he needs to work on pad level, but he's 6'6". One guy that I wanted to get your take on.
That's the explosion I was talking about. When you're on that line, you got to be able to explode out of there. And,
yeah.
Like I say, a lot of like you said, it's fast twitch muscle fibers, man. A lot of them guys don't have it. You know what I mean? And the ones that do, you can see it. And it's like, when you're on that line, it's a countdown. Whoever explodes first usually gonna win.
See,
that and keep your butt down.
Osman excelled at that. If you go back, if you watch, he was playing well. I don't know why. Again, it might be because he was at Central Michigan. Again, some guys, I'm almost certain he probably didn't get a combine invite. I mean, if Fontaine didn't get one, but he was a monster in the game, like actual game conditions. He played well. I mean, he showed up well in practices. I mean, you could see all the tangible things there. And then he showed up in the game too. I actually voted for him as defensive MVP of the game. He didn't get it. But, I mean, he just was all over the place. He was, in a good way, high motor, twitchy guy. He was making it tough, and they put him on the right side or the left side, kind of the same sort of situation. So he's a guy, I'm going to keep an eye on. But on the offensive side, the wide receiver out of Mississippi State. Now, this is one of those dudes, I'm 6'3", 240. I'm not little. So whenever I come up to a guy and I'm like, wow, yeah, that guy is significantly bigger than I am. I'm like, damn, that's a big dude, And this is one of those dudes, kind of not the same experience I had like with Megatron, but kind of in that light, because you see a guy out at wideout that's 6'5", 280, and has some okay speed, okay hands, and that's Jordan Thomas, wide receiver. And again, he was there 1 or 2, depending on which package, for Mississippi State this year. And he's just, I got one video of him catching a touchdown in practice. I haven't put that up yet. I should. But all the teams want him at tight end. Now, from what I hear, is they're saying he wants to be a receiver. He wants to be a receiver. But when I talked to him, and the conversations that we've had since then, is he's willing to play whatever they want him to play. There isn't like a preference. Like, he's there as a wideout because I think that's a good move to show that he can be that guy. But what they want to do is they want to move him in to tight end. So he did do some practicing with the offensive linemen and blocking drills, which he did okay. But obviously it's an area he needs to improve on. But he prefers to be in a situation where he's getting the ball in his hand or running routes. So that's a preference. Now, obviously, a lot of guys will have something that they tend to want to do. It doesn't matter what side of the ball it is. Even that offensive lineman, some guys prefer the right than the left, And usually once you get on the right side, you don't see as many Pro Bowlers. But didn't the Eagles right tackle, wasn't he a Pro Bowler this year? I think so, which is something that you don't really see. Unless it's a left-handed quarterback. But, I think this draft, I think that's the biggest thing. I think we're going to get a lot more trading this year. The Browns have a new GM that is a football guy. That is a football GM. Dorsey. He's a Miami guy, right? Isn't he a Miami guy? The Colts GM? Mike?
Yeah, I hear you.
You hear me? Yeah, so Dorsey's a guy that, he's going to get in there, and John Dorsey's going to find football people that can play. He's not going to look as much at the analytics, which is where Sashi kind of fell short. He was too heavy on analytics, But I think I think they're going to be able to find some people around, and that's one of the things I wanted to get into, and I'll just go ahead and kind of transition over into that. Is as we all know, as I reported on the show last week, breaking news last week, that McDaniels decided to stay in New England and declined the Colts position, the head coaching position with the Colts. Now, I feel like they're actually in a better situation hiring John Rich. I think in a much better situation. I don't think many people kind of understand his legacy in football, but this is a guy that played for Maryland, who, if I don't know how old a lot of our listeners are, but he was the quarterback that came in. He was the backup that filled in for Stan Gelba for the Terrapins in that historic comeback, which is the largest comeback in college football history, where Maryland came back down 31-0 to beat Miami 42-40. Now, he was also, again, this is 8 years later, Jim Kelly goes down, right? And he leads the greatest comeback in NFL history, leading the Bills to a 41-38 win in the playoffs over Houston after they were trailing 35-3 in the third quarter. So this guy knows the quarterback's position. He understands the moment and how to be in a situation that is less than desirable to get a desirable outcome. So I mean, he was able to you go from Carson Wentz, the guy that's probably the favorite for league MVP, to the backup, which when Wentz took down, I said Foles is not that big of a drop off in this system with this staff in Philly. He has a better situation then than probably he did, a couple years before, when again he was a Pro Bowler and led them to 2 10-6 seasons, one of them being in the playoffs. And by the way, they lost to the Saints by 2 points. And the Saints that year, it was 2013. It was 2012 or 2013. The Saints were actually three or four times more favored to get to the Pro Bowl or get to the Super Bowl than they were. So, I can't say enough positive stuff. Josh McDaniels obviously wasn't all the way in. People had kind of questioned it along the way, and I just think Frank Reich.
That was a weird deal, though, man. You see his agent left him too. I don't know what that was all about. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. Well, the GM, their GM, the Colts GM, and Josh McDaniel have the same agent. So it was basically kind of like, hey, if you're an agent and you're looking at a guy that's an offensive coordinator, head coach, or you got a GM, he probably did it because, hey, this is the guy that's going to be with the Colts for the foreseeable future. He can more impact my clientele than the coach is. He's the guy I'm going to have to work with. So he was kind of in a situation where he had to let Josh McDaniels go. And that was kind of one of those situations. Now, McDaniels is for a while, he's going to be tainted. It wasn't like he accepted it and didn't know. He literally was
90 seconds.
He accepted it. His coaches came in. He had already had staff that had signed contracts. He was announced as head coach, and then later the same day he rejected the offer. So there's people with families that picked up and moved to Indianapolis. Again, I don't know exactly where everybody came from, but I don't know about many of you, but Indianapolis is not.
60 seconds.
It's not exactly paradise. It snows. You know,
from Kansas, Toto.
it is. It is. So, you know, I think the Colts are going to be better off for it there. I think they end up getting a better coach in the long run. Obviously, he wasn't somebody that was on a lot of people's radars, but I think after we've seen what he did in the Super Bowl and throughout the season, he's obviously deserving of it. And happy to see he got that opportunity. But I think, like I said, I think the Colts are now in a better situation. They got a GM that
10 seconds.
that should be able to do a little bit more in the draft. Just so you guys know, we're about to go into overtime. So if you're listening to Blog Talk, the show will end on Blog Talk. For live listeners, you can listen to the podcast version here, but head over to Spreaker, download the free Spreaker app. That's speaker with an extra R. Listen to the full show, start to finish there. And if you don't catch it there right away, you can get the podcasted version of the show there. SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Looney Tunes, every tunes and tubes. Run all the tunes and tubes. All right, run all the tunes and tubes, so you'll find us. Sure. And if you can't find it, then just go to the website, thechtonsports.com. Listen link, upper left-hand corner. You can hear this show. You can hear Mike's show. That's every Wednesday night. And you hear James' show. That's on Sundays as well. So I think it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of move with coaches and coaching staffs and general managers. I feel like.
Well, what do you think about this? What do you think about the move that the Niners made, man? This contract with your boy Jimmy G.
Now, I grew up a 49ers fan. So, even though, I really don't have I'm closer to the Bucks because they're closer to me, proximity. But I really don't have a team that I have a vested interest. But I can say that I pay more close attention to the 49ers because that was my team growing up. I mean, I was a Jerry Rice guy. By the way, I saw Jerry. I said hi to him. Like, the funny thing is, with him, he actually said hi to me first. And I was like, hey. And then it kicked in, like, 10 minutes later. I'm like, oh, shit, that was Jerry Rice. Like, I was so cool with it. Like, because he looked at me, he was like, hey, man, how's it going? I was like, good, man. And then I went back to, taking notes and shit, and the scouting stuff. And he just he kept walking. But it was like, I had the same situation with, I told you, with Chili. When I was in Atlanta, I was at the Lenox Mall. I was in Lacoste. I was looking at some polos. I look over, and this girl's looking at me. And I looked at her, and I'm going back to looking what I was looking at. And I turned around, and she was looking at me again. I caught her looking a second time. And she's like, do I know you? Did you go to high school? Where'd you go to high school? It's like, in Nebraska. She's like, oh, you look so familiar. I was like, oh, you kind of look familiar too. But, oh, shit. My friend was like, hey, we got to go. I was like, all right. Oh, we got to bounce. She's like, all right, see ya. Like, see ya. And I'm walking down the hall. I was like, oh, shit, you know who that was? Like, who? I was like, that's Chili from TLC. Man, I'm going to be chasing waterfalls tonight. God damn it. I'm like, damn. But it's probably a good thing I don't need Usher chasing me around.
I don't know, man. That story sounds kind of, I don't know.
Listen, but I say,
where's the camera phone at, man? Why didn't you get no picture?
Bruh, this is like 2006. People really didn't even have camera phones then. You know this. And the ones that were camera phones, like, yeah, you probably didn't want to take pictures with it anyways, you know, because everything ended up looking like a grainy-ass Bigfoot picture, you know? Is that Sasquatch? Maybe. I don't know. But the thing is, like, I'm kind of one of those inconspicuous guys. I guess I look like a lot of people to different people. Like, people say, you look like, I've heard Matt Damon, I heard Ben Affleck. I guess I'm just Good Will Hunting looking. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I've heard, it was a gay guy, so I don't know if it's like a pickup line for gay guys. But he said I look like Leonardo DiCaprio. He's like, you look like Leo DiCaprio. Like, oh, thanks. He should win an Emmy. I don't know. I don't know how to come back. Thanks. Ethan Hawke. I had a guy I worked with in the penitentiary. He's a caseworker. He's like, man, you look just like Ethan Hawke. I'm like, thanks. I don't know how to take that. He's not really I don't know. I guess he's not really known for that looks, but his heart and training day is a pretty good thing. I'm going to take it as a compliment. I'm going to go with compliment, you know? But I don't think I really look like any of those guys. So that's what she probably thought too. So, but I'm an idiot. I don't be recognizing people. So like, but in my defense with Jerry Rice, he had a hat on and sunglasses, you know? And, you know, he rocks the beard now. And Jerry Rice with a hat and sunglasses, you know, kind of, you know, falls back into the crowd. He's not the tallest guy either. And he's pretty thin too. Like, I don't know. I get thrown off by that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like EJ Biggers, the dude is tiny. Tiny dude. Like, he just looks like the average dude. Like, just a guy. Nobody, like, if he wasn't in a Ferrari or something, he'd just be some other guy. Mm-hmm. You know? Like,
never know who he was.
No, he's a scrawny black dude. Like, that's all it was. It was like I saw him at Wendy's, and I was like, I could probably toss him. Like, you know? I don't know. I think stupid shit like that. But, yeah, I forget where we were going though. I forget where we're going. I went off on that tangent. I lost it. You were asking. What did you ask? What did you ask again?
That's you about Garoppolo.
About Garoppolo. Oh yeah. What's that?
About Garoppolo.
Okay, so obviously, I see the talent there. I think he does have the prospect of being, you know, top half of the league quarterback. I've thought that, you know, most of the time. I wasn't high on him in the draft or before the combine. The combine, I saw some stuff, but the thing that I see, he has some issues with footwork, and I feel he's still a little too timid. You know, if guys are coming down on him, he doesn't seem to step into the throw, which are two big issues. Mm-hmm. So would I have signed him for that money right now? No. I probably would have franchise tagged him, which still is going to be more money than he's ever made in his life. And I'm sure he's not going to be upset about it. And then actually took him for a 1.5-year test drive. I mean, you gave up a second-round pick. You're going to guarantee his next year either way, if it's signing him to a long-term deal, a longer-term deal, or if it's a franchise tag. You save a little money, probably franchise tagging him, and then you can take him for another spin. Now, the risk of franchise tagging him and taking it for another spin is, you know, he could end up going somewhere else. So then you lost a second-round pick, but you only got the 5 games at the end of the year. By the way, he threw for over 2,000 yards in 5 games. That's pretty remarkable. He was very accurate with what he did. You know, he's an athletic guy. He can get out of get out of some bad situations. Has good accuracy. But I would have probably franchise tagged him and then see what he can do under the franchise tag, you know? So, I mean, the guy's had, 7 NFL starts at this point? 7? I don't know. I don't know. I tend to feel like, obviously the feeling that the potential for top half of the league quarterback is there. I see that. So Lynch and the 49ers deciding to sign him now, you know, I can see why. I don't think I wouldn't have done that. I would have probably elected franchise tag, then signed a longer deal. And actually, that's a better situation for Garoppolo because, if he can ball, now he had an extra year, basically like having an extra $26 million guaranteed. By the way, out of that 136 million, I think 71 is guaranteed.
Yeah, I saw how they broke it down.
But a lot of it's depending on how many starting.
I think they said after the first 2 years, they could cut him free and clear if they wanted.
Yeah, that's what a lot of them are doing. So the Bucks were one of those teams that actually pioneered that, front-loading the guaranteed money. So this way on the back end, you'll have less cap hit. And if you need to bounce him, you know, it's after year 3. So after year 3, they can, which is a potential out, they could oust him. They'd be looking at 2.8 and dead cap. But the first 3 years, they're on the hook for $86 million. With bonuses and stuff. So that's a lot to invest. It's a lot to invest. But obviously, you know, if he plays decent, again, that's just kind of like, you know, quarterbacks are the hot real estate right now. They are just getting, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's gotten to the point in the league that, you know, it seems like teams have gotten to the point where they feel like they got to have a guy. If they don't have that guy, and again, even if he's not the guy, just renting that real estate is so much higher now too. It's hard to kind of look at a situation like Minnesota. Sam Bradford, I don't know where else he could end up. He struggles staying healthy. He played well. Both seasons he was there. 2.5 seasons he was there. He's played well when he's in, but he keeps getting hurt. Teddy Bridgewater is another guy. He was on the up. He was a Pro Bowler. He was on the upswing, gets hurt. Case Keenum was a guy that just hadn't gotten really into the right system. Even when he was in Fisher's system, he flashed when he was with Fisher. And I'm just like, Fisher's like, I don't know. I feel like he's been the most overrated coach in decades. Like, how he gets these opportunities and just is mediocre or less, but keeps his job. Like, he's finding the right people to just let him keep his job, you know? It's like he's been fortunate to be in situations. It's just like no one was in a hurry to fire him, you know? He went to... He went to one Super Bowl with the Titans way back? I wouldn't, like, Steve McNair was the quarterback. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about that was the season of that miraculous lateral to win a game.
Music City Miracle.
Yeah, the Music City Miracle. So, I don't know. It seemed like a perfect situation, but none of his teams have been anywhere close to that. Then you see he leaves. Look at Goff this year, balling out. Keenum, balling out. Those were his two quarterbacks. I wonder where did Clement go?
Goff was, Goff was underrated this season too, man. It's, what's it? Damn, what's your boy? Wentz got a lot of the attention. Goff had a really good season this year. Really good. He got overshadowed by Wentz and he got overshadowed by Todd Gurley. But he ended up making the Pro Bowl as an alternate.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if he made it as an alternate, but yeah. But, I thought maybe we should have made it off that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did make it as an alternate. I'm gonna look it up real quick. But Jameis made it as an alternate his rookie year too.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these alternates, sometimes the alternate pool is kind of deep. Like I don't think Jameis was a Pro Bowler that year, but it counted. Yeah, he was a Pro Bowler. Yeah, it's listed here. What do you make of the Jags? Because the Jags have been kind of like my dark horse team for like 3 years. And I feel like every year before the season, me and you talk about everything looks like they could do something. But what about Bortles? And again, I think I've been the only guy out of all of us that have been like rooting for Blake Bortles or defending Blake Bortles, arguing in his favor or something. But I think this year he showed.
Yeah.
I think he showed he's serviceable, and and they're kind of committed to him now.
I mean, look, he had. I don't know. I think you got to pull the string, and get somebody else in besides Bortles. I mean, he had like what? I think he had like 4 or 5 decent games at the end of the season, and they were decent. They weren't. I mean, I don't trust that guy, man.
I mean, this season he threw for 3,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Completed 60% of his passes over the course of the season. But again, there were games where he had like the Steelers game that they won, he had 95 yards passing. He had 87 yards versus the Bills. But here's the thing. What the Jags showed, and again, this is what I appreciate about it, because he is mobile. He can run, I think he's underrated on that say. He's, a lot of people want to call him garbage because they're so caught up in thinking he's garbage. He's able to be more elusive. He's able to do more against them because they're not giving him the respect that he should get. So he takes advantage of it. So they still win games where, as a quarterback, he may not be performing as well. I mean, the 49ers game, again, this is like the 5th game of the season. I mean, he threw 382 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. The week before against the Titans, 158 yards and 2 interceptions. I mean, there was 1, 2, 3 games. He didn't have any touchdowns, any passing touchdowns, but yet had at least an interception in those games. So, I mean, that was the Titans, the Cardinals, and the Steelers. So, I mean, that Steelers game, he had, shit for, 95 yards passing, no touchdowns, and an interception. But I think, didn't he rush for, like, almost 100 yards in that game? Something like that. I have to look at it. It's not giving me the full stats. I'm just saying, like, people are sleeping on him, and they shouldn't. Even if he isn't, he's not a guy I'm saying, he should be a Pro Bowler. But, you gotta, if you don't give the guy the respect, I mean, that's where people get lost. You lose. You let people take advantage of you that shouldn't, because you give them room to. You know. Let's see here. And I said, if the Jags play out half that minute or whatever is left, and try to score at the halftime, I think that's a different game. I think the Jags win the game. If they could score before they go into half instead of taking a knee, that's a different game. But once Belichick saw, okay, he's gonna kneel it just because they think they're up, that's the game. Now I think that's where he was like, okay, they surrendered. We got them now. You know. Let's see here. Seattle. Where's the Steelers game? Passing. Oh. All right, I'm not finding it. No, here it is. Box score. Yeah, he had. Where is that? Man, this thing is, I swear, I'm taking the longest route to find this stat. Yeah, he had. Oh, no, that's different. That was the playoff game. Not the one I wanted. Anyways, I'll move beyond it. So you think maybe they just lucked out to get him to show up in spots where you think he played over his ability this season, or he got lucky, or they got lucky? Is that am I understanding that right?
Listen, I guess, yeah.
So you don't see them making it back to, to that point in the playoffs next season?
I think they got to, I mean, like I said, nobody outside of Jacksonville expected this, for them to do that this year. I mean, they got the pieces in place, but like I said, to me, like I said, you got to get that passing game. The defense is there. You might want to have somebody who can be like the leader, though, who can kind of put everybody your emotions in check. You got to have that guy. But
because they don't have.
I mean, like I said, I like the team. I like they got Cam Robinson. I like they got Fournette. I don't know if they can do that again, man. I didn't, because like I said, I didn't expect them to do it this year. I thought it would be, maybe one more year.
Who do you think has the most potential to break out like that next season in 2018? Who do you see has the highest potential of being able to break out like that in next season?
Team player or team?
Team.
Like we said before, I think it could be Denver. I think if they get the right quarterback there, like I said, they do get Kirk Cousins there. I mean, they go from, lottery team to playoff team.
Because the Jags, they don't have a first round pick, do they? No, they do. They're the 4th. No, they don't. Hold on. Maybe I'm looking at. Okay, yeah. I pulled up the wrong mock draft. I pulled up your old mock draft. That's funny. I'm looking at your mock draft from last year. You picked Myles Garrett first, second, Jonathan Allen. Then Deshaun Watson going to Chicago, which he fell. But you picked Leonard Fournette going to Jacksonville. Lattimore, you picked going to Tennessee. He ended up going a few spots later to New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, you were pretty on target for a few of these. All right.
Well, when you're dealing with a team like the Chicago Bears, it's kind of hard to get. It's kind of hard to.
Yeah.
I mean, who could expect them to do that shit?
What is
Go up
it?
against it. That's why, like I said, that's why I'm holding off, for this year. But hey, man, I gotta go. I'm getting an important call from my dad on the other line right now, so I gotta get rolling.
All right.
But I'll hit you back next week.
All right. And we'll see you tomorrow as well. That's Mike Brewer. So that's the thing is, like, I think Mike brings up a great point. There's a lot of potential within this draft class, but I think the potential are guys that they feel like they can really boom on guys in day 2 or day 3, particularly day 2 of this draft where they get into the 2nd and 3rd round. 4th, 5th, 6th round, 7th round on day 3. Could be, a lot of gems there. One of the main guys, though, like I say, he won't be able to be at the combine, so you'll have to check out what people are saying after his pro day at Northern Iowa, and that's Derice Fontaine. Again, one of probably the best kept secrets in this draft right now as far as offensive players. He's been doing it. He's been doing it. So I'll have more on him, and I'll have some more of profiles and stuff after we get done with the combine. This week I'll be down in Tampa at a few of these training facilities, so I'll meet with a few guys as well to get a better idea on some of the guys like Kentavious Street. He's, like I said, he's a guy that really interests me. 6'2", 275, 280. Has 4.5 speed. But again, like a lot of the scouts and stuff I talk to, I hear, his length, his arm length, his arms are too short. He has trouble getting off blocks. He's a bit too sticky. Sticky, short on length. Those are the two big things. And, it doesn't take a lot. But when you have, how many players do they have there? Hey, can you put that over on my screen? So, I think there is, how many players are there? Yeah, put that over on mine. So, I'll grab it here for a sec. Give me a sec. Bear with me for just a moment. 100 and some odd guys. Easily. What? I think 200? How many guys are there? Yeah, bunch of guys. 100 and some odd players that they're going to have rolling into. Oh, here we go. rolling into Indy. So March 2nd through the 5th on NFL Network. So I'll have a bunch of information for you coming up. But this is where a lot of guys have another opportunity to get out there and make a difference. And again, some of the stuff happens behind the scenes. So much of this stuff happens behind the scenes. You know, in interviews. I mean, like, for example, here's typically, scout hasn't seen much on you, comes up to you. So you're the athlete. I'm the scout, right? Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Okay. You played with da-da-da? Yep. All right. Who was your position coach there? Okay. All right. Where are you sitting at on 40 time? All right. You're vertical, broad jump, shuttle. Okay. And then they'll ask, you have any criminal background? Any injuries? Any problem with families? Family problems? Any sort of issues there that might pop up? How's your relationship with your parents? Siblings? Teammates? What player have you went against that you think has had the most success against you? Who's been the most difficult player that you played against? Again, same question, just asked in two different ways. You know, what was your best performance? Who's your best performance again? Who's your worst performance again? You know, like just bam, 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 just all down the list. Because these are all background character sort of things, and they're listening to him talk. They'll listen to you talk while you're doing this. You know, when's the last time you did this? Well, this high school, or this was college, beginning of college, 3 years ago. So how much weight is put into this stuff? And again, there's a lot of guys that probably, I mean, every one of these guys would benefit. And the thing is, here's the advice I'll give. One piece of advice I give to the guys I talk to, you know, they got to invite, like, I'm not going to tell you the name, but one guy, he was injured. He had a knee injury. He's rehabbing the injury. He's on schedule to compete in the combine. He got a combine invite, even though he's hurt. And he didn't know if he was going to go or not. And I was like, yo, you got a very, very exclusive ticket there. So even if you go and you don't participate in drills and skill stuff, be there and talk to everybody. You know? As another player that he was in the Shrine game, ended up being a hamstring. He's been training, so he's ready. He is going to participate in the combine. Like I told him too. Don't let just what you're doing on the field be the determining factor of people capture you. Capture their attention. There's a lot of guys there, a lot of people, a lot of things going on. Maybe only one guy runs at one time. But they might have other guys doing warm-ups or might be doing something on the sideline. You have to understand, if I have a linebacker, you know, or a defensive end / outside, that's even better. So if I got a guy who's a defensive end, outside linebacker, so he's going to stand up. There might be situations where he's in coverage. But the film that I've seen in college, or the all-star game he's been at, or the situations I've seen him at, haven't really reflected what his skills are like in coverage. I don't see his back pedal. How does he back? Is he good at it? Is he getting low? Is there good knee bend? Is there arm movement? Is his feet quick? Can he turn his hips well? Like they're all like tangible things that you can see. And then what are his instincts like? How does he react? What are his instincts like? Is it like he's seeing it as it's happening and he can react, or he can anticipate, like, how's the guy's mind work too. So, whereas if you don't see that in game situations, you don't have nothing to draw from. So, a lot of times, what scouts and guys will do is they'll go watch warm-ups. So, I tell people, be serious in your warm-ups. Everything. If they can see you, be serious. Because if I'm going to see how is your backpedaling, and I think I see you as a 3-4 outside linebacker, guy at stand-up rush, or I can use you in situations where I bring you in as an outside linebacker that I can, as an extra man in the box, that I can rush you, or I can put you in coverage against a tight end or a slot. I want to know how your coverage is. How do you backpedal? What's your backpedaling like? What's your coverage skills like? So you'll look at those things, and they do backpedaling drills in warm-ups. Just about everybody does. So you can kind of get a glimpse at what it is. You have a better idea. It's not going to tell you everything, but you have a better idea than not seeing it at all. So you can note that. You'll know that. And then when you work them out, and you can set up questions that, so how were you in college? See, for example, Shaquem Griffin. He's good with coverage skills. He's exceptional for his position with coverage skills. But he's also a converted safety. From safety to defensive end. So in the NFL, they can use him in a lot of different ways. Right? So we'll see how they really how they're able to really test his skills. And I recommend, if you can get involved with the drill, get involved with the drill. You know, give him something to consider more than nothing. You know, if you're one of these guys, you're probably going to fall to the 5th, 6th, 7th round. Be in front of their face as much as you can. That's what I told him. I said, hey, listen, if you can be in the drill, be in the drill. You know? Doesn't matter if it's your position or not. You never know. That maybe they don't like you as a cornerback, but you're 6'2". Maybe they think you might be decent as a slot. Or maybe they feel like they like you at 6'2" at safety, but they're going to want you to put a little weight on. So they want to see how you can play center field. You know, how can you get in the box and stop? What's your tackling like? Can you make that open field? Can you wrap up? You know, are you going to be able to get in the trench as a safety? I mean, so they'll look at those things. So that's why I say talk to everybody. People will always favor what they remember last. You know. It's a bias. It's a situational bias. Like study after study has been done where literally people will remember they did better than what they had predicted. Or they'll lie. Not wittingly in a lot of cases, that they really feel like they made the correct prediction to begin with. But they didn't. They said something different. So, it's interesting stuff moving forward. See, we got about 30 minutes left in the show tonight. I'm going to... All right, what do we got else? Okay, so... Kerr. Let me pull this up here real quick. So, obviously, just kind of taking a scope of the Olympics. That's the last thing I wanted to talk about. So there was a 17-year-old boy won the gold in the Olympics. And it is like the story of millennials. Where did it go? Where did that go? He overslept. He was trailing. Yeah. It's not pulling up here. Where's it? Anyways, so here's the story. I don't have his name. But anyways, I'm going forward with it. I'm running with it anyways. He will remain nameless. You do your producer stuff and keep looking. Yeah. So basically he had been trailing, as the tale goes. And in an event, he's been trailing towards the end, towards the bottom of his event, and he had red. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, give me that. Okay, so he's 17. Here, let's reset that. Reset. All right, here we go. So he's a snowboarder, of course. Won gold medal. The dude is clearly American, millennial, and this is like the epitome of what people see how millennials work, right? So Red Gerard. How do I remember that name? Red Gerard. He's 17. He won the gold medal in the Winter Olympics for snowboarding. All right. He essentially overslept. He lost his coat, and then storming to victory, he curses on live television. He was caught saying, "Holy shit." We could say that here. After he won. It's like the epitome of it. And then it was revealed that the 17-year-old person, friends and family, encouraged him to shotgunning beers at 8:30 in the morning while they were en route to cheer him on. Now, again, this is kind of the epitome of what we see as millennials these days. He's not doing swell. He's not really living up to what he thought he would do performance-wise. He forgets his coat. He oversleeps, almost misses his run, and he goes out and he crushes it. He ends up winning gold. The epitome of it. But here's the thing. I know people are gonna shotgunning beer. A 17-year-old shotgunning beers is probably not the best optics. In this country, he's not old enough to do that. I'm guessing he is. A lot of countries, I don't know the age limit of drinking in South Korea or China where the games are happening. But usually 13 or 16 is most other countries outside the U.S. We're the only one. We're one of the few that are 21. But here's the thing. The one thing, it doesn't matter if what professional test it was, if it was college, what it was. I've always consistently been told to deal with anxiety of a moment, of a situation, a test or whatever, a meeting that, take a shot or drink a beer. Because the depressant, alcohol, will calm the anxiety and help the inhibition get out. So, if that's, I guess this is after a win, but it was in South Korea. Okay. But I think it was tremendous. I think it was this. He goes out and he slays and he wins. I mean, it's just ceremoniously. And he got on Snapchat at like 8:30 in the morning. This is his quote. This is what he said. It's like, I got on Snapchat this morning at like 8:30 when I was taking a bus up and they were all shotgunning beers on the way to the mountain. So I'd say they've been having a good time, yeah. So evidently he did too. And he went out and slayed it. That is not an endorsement that alcohol or beer or whatever makes you better at something. It's not an enhancer, it's a present, so it's getting rid of the anxiety. So evidently it worked for him. I don't know how the rules work. If he has alcohol in his system, he can be disqualified or lose his medal. But Kenny's 17, so he's going to talk about stuff. So tremendous run there. I have been watching bits and pieces of these Olympics, and it's been fun what I've watched. My wife is really surprised how much I know about snowboarding, and a lot of it has to do with when growing up, I played video games. And one of those games was Sean Palmer's Pro Snowboarders. Killer game. And we used to play that and Tony Hawk. Like, it's crazy. As much as we used to play those. Other than that, it was just sports game. All big part of what I played. But that's why. Because you have to, you're pulling off a lot of these moves in video games. And I'm telling you, ladies, one thing that you could do, if you're trying to, anybody really, not just ladies, anybody, if you're trying to learn the sport, how it's played or how you win or how it's scored, I think it is a tremendous idea to go play the video game. I'm telling you, because you'll learn a lot about the sport and who's involved, how it's scored and stuff if you're playing the video game, because it's pretty similar to life, the way that it works. So thanks to Sean Palmer's Pro snowboarder video game on PlayStation 2. I got pretty familiar with snowboarding. Other than that, I think what else have we watched? A little bit of curling. What else? Figure skating. Some figure skating. A little bit of the hockey. But give you a quick medal count update. No, we didn't do this on the site. I got a few people. We don't really have much. I don't really have much on there for Olympics, content-wise. Yeah, I know it's probably a miss. So right now, gold medal lead is Germany, followed by the Netherlands, the U.S., Norway, Canada, France, Sweden, Australia, Italy. Republic of Korea, which is both of them. But total medals, the U.S. is tied for second with 10, Netherlands and Canada have 10. Norway have 11 total medals. The U.S. has 7. So they're up there with golds, but total medals. The big names that we've seen, again, Red. Again, that's short for Redmond. Red Gerard, he won the gold in men's slopestyle on the snowboard. Shaun White, of course, king of the halfpipe, wins gold on halfpipe. That's something you want to go back and watch. Snowboarding, just go back and watch it. Chloe Kim, she another women's halfpipe, she slayed it. Jamie Anderson, she's 17 as well. So we have two 17-year-olds that slayed it on snowboarding. She's 17, snowboarder, and she won on slopestyle, just like Red Gerard did. And then Aurelie Gold, she won in the ladies halfpipe. She got a bronze. And what was that? Snowboarding as well. So we had 2 Americans medal in the ladies halfpipe. Killer, right? And then the other field is men's singles. Chris Meisner, is that how it's pronounced? Yeah, he won in again, I'm pull it up here. Men's single run. Event medal, men's singles. What? The luge. So it wasn't the U.S. came in second in figure skating last night. I remember I watched some of that last night in figure skating, in couples. Maybe it was ice dancing. I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, what's the difference between figure skating and ice dancing? I don't know. I'm going to pull it up here. I don't know the difference. See, that's the thing that I struggle with. I think this is some of the struggle with some of these things. Like, the average fan can't. Like, I'm a sports guy, and I can't tell you the difference between couples ice dancing and pairs figure skating. I couldn't tell you. I know the U.S. did good last night. ended up second last night, but it looks like overall they're sitting 13th, 10th on the night ranking. Yeah, they're ranking 11th. This is ranked 11th in figure skating pairs. Men's singles, I think, was U.S. has, I think his name's Chen. That is men's singles freestyle. They have medals given out. Official record. Nope, they don't have it. Haven't. Let's see here. Men's singles. Yeah, it's not out yet. Anyways. So, I mean, the U.S. is doing what they can. And, of course, we want to see some more. There's been some interesting stories. Again, there's a few athletes that are just operating as Olympic athletes, right? Not for a country. Now, some of those athletes were Russian athletes. One has, from Russia, has won a silver medal in figure skating. There has been 4 bronze also. And those, they have been a Russian player in curling. Let's see, short track, speed skating, and cross-country skiing for men's and for women's. Have just been listed as Olympic athletes. So they qualified for the games as Olympic athletes, not under a country. So, yep. So that's going to do us for this week. Next week we're playing a much bigger show, celebrating episode 251. Mike came in tonight. Probably have James in next week. We'll have a bit more information in a lot of different areas as well. So, but that'll do it for us this week here on the Court Hard Truth on Sports. Go ahead, head on over to the website, head on over to the social media at the CHT on Sports. You can follow me directly at Matt Long Sports, and funny, I try to follow everybody back. So for some reason I don't follow you back. It's not being a jerk. It's just I'm not always able to follow people back, or I miss them. But again, at Matt Long Sports. So, but that does it for this week on the show. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Go ahead and download that Spreaker app and listen to the full show next week, and as well as SoundCloud and all the wonderful places you can find us. Peace.
Welcome to the Cold Hard Truth.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.